In this video, I'm going to give you some practical methods you can start using right now to help you become a more diverse 7-string guitarist. And I'm also going to share why this is so important. Now, if you don't have a 7-string guitar, stop this video and go get one. I'm halfway joking. Actually, even if you have no intentions of ever playing a 7-string, if you're going to stick with a 6-string guitar, that's okay. The concepts that I'm going to share in this video are actually going to be helpful to all guitar players, but especially to 7-string guitarists. The biggest problem that 7-string guitar players have is this. Okay, so that sounded kind of cool, but it would get old if that's all I kept doing. Probably after 30 seconds, you'd be like, dude, can you play something else now? And here's why that's a problem. When you get caught up into playing just those super low notes, which you're tempted to do on a 7-string guitar, you actually put yourself in a tiny little box, like this tiny little box right here. Actually, some new guitar pickups came in today. That's for another video. So let's jump right into these methods because I'm really excited to share these with you. This is coming from a very intimate and personal experience that I've had with my 7-string over the past, I think it's been about 1.5 years now since I started playing 7-string guitars. So we're going to jump right into this. Now make sure you hang around to the end of the video because I'm going to talk a little bit more in depth about why these concepts are so important that we're about to go over. Number one, many 7-string guitarists and us guitarists in general, and I'm guilty of this as well, we have this misconception that low notes or lower notes equate to heavy. Here's the problem with that though. The low note, well, that's a sound, okay? That's all that is. Whether you're playing an E at an octave lower, an octave higher, or you're playing a B, doesn't really matter. It's just a sound that you're producing, whereas heavy is more of a feeling, and it's not just the guitar itself. There are other elements that make it heavy. Now I'm gonna share a real world example with you here. I'm gonna let you hear a short clip of a specific song, and maybe just close your eyes for the next like maybe 10-15 seconds, and I want you to try to guess what key I'm playing in and where I'm playing this on my 7-string guitar. So you may have known right off the bat that, okay, that didn't sound like the lowest note possible. It probably wasn't in the key of B minor, but maybe that was in C sharp minor, or maybe it was even in E minor. That song, that part of that song, I was actually playing on my 7-string guitar, which is always in standard tuning. I was playing in the key of A minor. And for a 7-string guitar, that's kind of far away from the lowest notes that I could possibly be playing on that guitar. But yeah, I'm just playing in the key of A minor, meaning I could have played that on a 6-string guitar. But as you can see, or hear rather, there are other elements going on first and foremost, okay? There are other elements going on here that make that feel, not sound, because remember, the low note or whatever note is just a sound. The heaviness is the feeling. There are other elements that made that up. You've got the vocals. We're doing some death metal vocals there, okay? And then you've got the drums. I had a really awesome drummer. I'll tell you more about the song in a second here. I had a really amazing metal drummer doing his part, which made the song feel heavier. And then just simply the way I was playing the music and the progression there, all these things like coming into play here made that part of the song feel much heavier than you would have expected in the key of A minor in standard tuning. Now I was actually doing a little bit different experiment here when I wrote this song, when I recorded it, and yeah, this is actually one of my songs. It's called Never Enough. I've got a lyric video on this song as well. I'll put a link to that in the description of this video so you can go back and watch that later. I wanted to see if you truly had to play heavier notes to fit the death metal style vocals. And as I was recording this part and recording the vocal tracks, I was expecting to later go back and listen to it and not be happy with it and maybe play it in a different key, maybe E minor or maybe even B minor. Have those death metal vocals with the heaviest notes I could possibly play. But after listening to it and after getting some other feedback from some people that I trust that would give me honest opinions, they were like, no, keep it the way it is. This sounds great. This sounds awesome. There's a nice little contrast, but it is still very heavy. It's got that feeling to it. So I left it. So remember, low notes are just a sound. Heavy is more of a feeling. And I'm actually kind of feeling pretty heavy right now because I just had a buttload of tacos. Number 2. And this, number 2, is crucial for 7-string guitarists. Actually, it's very important for any metal guitarist. And that's because we get caught up into playing those low notes because, again, they sound great. They sound awesome. I mean, it sounds amazing to play those low, chunky notes. It's just cool. I mean, you could just chug all day, you know? But if you stay in that realm, if you stay in that arena, remember, you're boxing yourself into this tiny little square. And the more you hang on those low notes all the time, the more you obsess over that, the tinier that little box gets that you're putting yourself into. So I really strongly encourage you to riff more on your guitar. And what I mean by that is just kind of, even if you're playing like really heavy stuff and it just calls for that feeling, that's fine. But I want you to branch out now and then and play some riffs maybe in between, like the transitions from verse to chorus. Here's an example real quick of what I'm talking about. So you saw what I was doing. I started out playing those lowest notes possible on my 7-string, and again, I'm in standard tuning here, but I'm playing those lowest notes possible, just chugging away, and I think we did a good job at capturing the feeling of heaviness as well while playing that. But before I went to the next piece, which was kind of going to be similar, that next part of the song could have been like a chorus. I don't know, I just made this up like I do in most of my YouTube videos. Most of the stuff you hear me play on YouTube, if it's not one of my songs, I'm just making it up, like pulling it out of, not out of my arse, but out of thin air. That sounds better. Anyway, so you had that little transition moment to kind of bridge those two parts of the music together. And I just added a little riff. Now, you don't always have to do that. Maybe you just expand on your verse or on your chorus and just kind of riff in between there. All I'm saying is just add some more flavor and move those fingers around a little bit more so that you don't get so isolated in just playing those heaviest notes possible all the time. Make those fingers go some different places, add some riffs in there, and of course you're riffing, try to do that on multiple strings, not just one string. That's just gonna help you and make you become a better guitarist. Number 3. Now this is super powerful. On your 7-string guitar, and again, this really applies to all metal guitar players, all guitar players in general. On your 7-string guitar especially though, again, because we have a tendency to just go to that lower section all the time, I want you to experiment in playing in different keys. I don't want you always going to that first string. Have you ever listened to an album, and there are several albums out there like this, and I've been guilty of this as well, but have you ever listened to an album where literally every song is in the exact same key? Now I know a lot of metal music kind of calls for that because yeah, you can captivate that feeling of heaviness with the lower notes probably a little easier than with some of the higher notes. So I know sounds like I'm kind of contradicting what I said earlier, but I think you guys understand what I'm talking about here. But the issue with starting every song in the same key or having every song in that same key, it just becomes monotonous, and it's really easy for your music just to run together. It's really easy to get to like track 3 or 4 and you're like, hey, I think I heard this already. And you probably could name off some of the albums that's going in your head right now. It's like, yeah, you know, a lot of those songs sound the same. You know, you get to like track 7, 8, it's like, I think that's track 4. And I think it's part of track 2. It all just kind of runs together. And sometimes maybe that's okay, because if the album is themed or whatever, but I don't know, I just want to encourage you to branch out a little bit. And let's say you're writing an album, let's say it's 11, 12 songs. I would say at least have maybe 1 or 2 songs that is in a different key than everything else, just to give your album some diversity. And it also just helps you become a better guitarist as well, because now you're having to figure out what chords go with the key that you're playing in, what progression you're going to write in that key, because it's going to be different from the main key, which in our case here is the B minor key, which I love B minor. I'm not going to lie, B minor is a pretty awesome key. I even like playing B minor on my regular old acoustic guitar. It just fits. That's just a side note. Here's an example real quick before we move on to the next, which is I think is number 4. Here's an example though of what I'm talking about. As you may have guessed, I just completely made that up, and honestly, I probably won't even remember what I played in like 5 minutes, so I hope you liked it. Number 4, practice playing clean on your 7-string. That technically doesn't rhyme, but it kind of sounded cool. A clean 7-string. I do need to wipe my guitar down because I am really bad about having fingerprints on my guitars. This alone will take your 7-string abilities from like here and put them way up there where you guys can't see. Seriously though, this will help you just soar to that next level. And here's why. Most people don't play clean notes on their 7-string guitar, and I'm going to share some examples with you. When you practice playing clean tones on your 7-string guitar, there are a few things that happen here. I'm going to share some examples with you, but one of those things that happen is you're going to be playing notes that you're probably not used to playing on your 7-string guitar. You're more used to playing these on your 6-string guitar. And this is actually something I talk about in my how to transition from a 6 to 7-string guitar. I'll put the video up there. I'll also put that in the description so you can go back and watch that later. But I talk about actually not touching that B string. If you're a new 7-string guitarist, I actually talk about not even touching that B string for the first, I don't know how long, but really just getting used to playing your guitar like it was a 6-string and practicing chords on that, playing clean tones. When you're strumming and plucking all of those strings, that's going to help you progress even further. And the second part to that is there's just some really awesome and dark sounds and tones that you can get out of playing clean on a 7-string. And I'm going to share those with you right here. So yeah, when you're sitting down to practice 7-string, make a point to just, put your amp on the clean channel and just strum or pluck or arpeggiate the chords, and then practice some of those darker sounds too. You heard that one tone that I put out there. It was kind of like that Metallica riff that they use in One and Fade to Black and Sanitarium. They're famous for those notes there, but now you're playing those lower on the 7-string there, and it just sounds really dark and eerie and just really cool. Now, why is this video so important for a 7-string guitarist? And again, really any guitarist can benefit from the concepts that we just talked about. Many of us metal guitarists, and again, I'm guilty of this in the past at least, many of us metal guitarists, because our music is so exclusive, it's so prestigious, and it is, we love metal, but we oftentimes think of ourselves as a metal guitar player first. What I want you to do, or what I encourage you to do, is shift that thinking around, and I want you to think of yourself as a musician first. That's what you are. You're a musician. Yes, you're a metal guitar player, you're a metal guitarist, you're a metal musician as well, but first you are a musician. Then you're a guitarist. Then you're a metal guitarist. And here's why I want you to think that way, because if you think of yourself as just a metal guitarist, you're probably going to narrow it down further to your own little genre there, you know, your own little subgenre rather of metal. Let's say you're into black metal or melodic death metal. Those are some, or metalcore. Those are some pretty extreme genres. And it goes back to what I was saying in the beginning of the video, is you can easily put yourself in a tiny little box, and that box can continue shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. I'm not saying that you necessarily have to go out and learn other genres. I'm not saying you should force yourself to do that. I think you should expand a little, but it's not like if you're into black metal, I'm saying, well, now you gotta learn jazz or country or something. I'm not saying that. It's kind of funny. A black metal guitarist playing country. I got a story about that in a second I'll share with you, but anyway, I'm not saying you have to go out and learn genres that you don't necessarily care to listen to. What I do encourage you to do is just expand out a little bit. Go back through this video, rewatch it again. Watch I think we went over 4 concepts. Rewatch those and just kind of let those sink in, and then apply those to your fretboard on your 7-string, or again, if you're just playing a 6-string, you know, apply that to your own fretboard, and just allow yourself to expand out a little bit. And that helps you become more of, again, a musician, because you're expanding here, right? You're a musician first, then you're a guitar player, then you're a metal guitarist. So real quick, I was saying, I was making a joke about country music. A buddy of mine called me up the other night, and he's actually in a southern rock and country band, and he's like, dude, our bass player and keyboard player, they're sick, and we've got this gig, we need your help, so can you play bass for us? So I'm like, absolutely, dude. And this was just a couple nights prior to me making this video. I was up on stage playing country music on bass. But I had a blast just being up there on stage. It almost didn't matter what style of music I was playing. I'm on stage playing music. Was it my ideal style of music? No. Are these songs that I listen to on a regular basis? No. I actually didn't even really know hardly any of these songs. I mean, I've been out to see my friend's band play several times because we support one another. So I was familiar with the songs at least, but you know, he'd have to like hold his guitar over so where I could see it, so I could see what chord he was playing. I'm like, okay, I got it. I know what key it's in now, and I kind of follow along from there. Now, to be transparent, I've been playing bass guitar pretty much as long as I've been playing regular guitar, so I do consider myself a bass player as well as a guitarist. It just goes back to my point of considering yourself a musician first. I used to not do that. I used to think of myself as just a metal guitar player, and because of that, I missed a lot of opportunities to probably gig or play out or record for someone else, and that could have led to so many other paths, and I'll never know what could have come of that because I was kind of stubborn and I was just a metal guitar player. So think of yourself first as a musician, and again, I'm not saying you have to go play bass in a country band if you're into metal, but why not? You know, why not? You're a musician first, then a guitar player, then a metal guitar player. So guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I had so much fun making it. I love videos like this. So let me know in the comments if this helped you and if you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. Also guys, don't forget, in the YouTube description of this video, I've got a couple other videos that I talked about early on. I also give away a free metal guitar practice guide There's a link in the description there, and there's several other links in there. Just check those out. There's also links to go listen to my albums and my music as well, so be sure to check those out. And please give this video a thumbs up if it helped you. Make sure you're subscribed and all that good stuff. So guys, until the next video, as always, keep it metal and sometimes country.